Hello! Season 2! I'm matching our PowerPoint, and now I'm covered in confetti. But welcome back, everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I got confetti in my coffee, guys. That was not
no.
Well, I hope all you librarians listening in also have metaphorical confetti in your coffee. Let's start this year off right. Hopefully 2021 will be bright and happy and full of fascinated, fun reading. Thanks everyone for joining us. We're so thrilled to have season 2. Who knew what this year would bring or last year would bring, but this has definitely been the highlight, and we're happy to kick this year off right with our, Happy New Year. I saved all my Happy New Year stuff just for this occasion.
Love it.
So as you can see on the last slide, PRH Morning Buzz is our hashtag. We hope you use it and share with us what you're excited about this year. We will have a question for you later on to ensure that you participate and talk to us because we love to hear from you. But until then, feel free to just chime in with your thoughts about our reads that we're excited to share with you. And as you know, I think we'll go to the slide with the key. Oh, wait, we should introduce ourselves. See? Yeah. New year, I've already forgotten everything. My name is Jennifer Rubin. Thanks for joining us.
And I'm Jen Childs. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, and I'm Kelly Coyle-Corvelli, in case you guys forgot our names, but Happy New Year. We're happy to be back.
I'm going to try not to drink confetti as I present. So PRH Morning Buzz is the hashtag, as I said, and there's our key. You are probably familiar already, but just in case, that gives you a little sneak peek at all the formats that are available as we go through these great titles. And also, we've extended our storytime permission. So if you're not familiar with this, we've really been touched by all of the ways that you've stepped up and connected your patrons and all of your readers and listeners during this time. And so we've extended our open license program. You can find more information at the URL on your screen, but now you can share online storytime and read aloud videos through June 30th, 2021.
Yes, and if you were able to come to our open book back in December, which feels like it was a year ago already, but we were so happy to have you. It was such a fun day. But if you did miss it, we wanted to just remind you that it's now on demand. The tiny URL is below. Again, we send you a wrap-up, and it will be in there. It's on our YouTube channel, but you can go in and see some of our great author panels with Paula McLean, Adria Trigiani. We had America's Test Kitchen do a cooking demo for us. It was a really fun day.
We can't forget Lisa.
Yes, Lisa Scottolini. Oh my gosh, we really had such a wonderful day.
And her dogs.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we enjoyed it so much too. So if you missed it and you wanted to catch the archived video, it is on demand, and we hope that you will download it.
Also, hot off the press, we have our new book club brochure, which we've heard is very helpful both for Reader's Advisory and for book club leaders in selecting the next book club pick. We've pulled together some of our top books that we think are perfect for book clubs. We've included sample discussion questions. We have picks for your Spanish book clubs, for your young adult book clubs. So please do go to the URL, which will also be included in the wrap-up, or you can go to our issue page where you'll find this book club brochure as well as all of our past ones. And also quite a few book club kits, pretty much everything you need to plan your next book club event.
And we're excited. We know how much Open Book has been helpful to all of you. And we have a new initiative this year called Library Lunch and Learn, which, again, in the wrap-up, you'll get more information about and the link to sign up if you want. This is a little different. This is not going to be a book buzz format. This is going to be a virtual webinar for your staff and for you to help with reader discovery, collection development. And these are all going to be very topical. The first one we're doing is New Year, New You, but we're going to also have a science-based lunch and learn event, business management and leadership, a cooking one, and these are going to be led by librarians nationwide that are that are experts in the field of what we're talking about. Episode 1 is January 14th. You can see our author lineup here for you. And this we just thought was a great way to start off the year, highlighting some New Year titles, some yoga where you are, like a little demo of yoga to start off the event as well. And
that sounds good. Let's do yoga right now.
I can use it. I can really use it. And like I said, each there'll be every other month, and each one will be moderated by a librarian that has an expertise in the field of whatever the topic is. So it's going to be really a fun new adventure for us, and a new programming opportunity for you guys to tune in and for us to share some really great titles with you as well. So we hope you'll join us for the first one, which is January 14th. And also, please share this with your staff and with your patrons, and we're excited about it.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
And also, we just want to give a nod. Many of you may already be signed up for ALA Midwinter. Although it's virtual, we still will be participating, and we have many exciting authors that will be keynoting and doing various programs. Ibram Kendi, Max Brooks, Adam Grant. We have Ethan Hawke. It's going to be a really exciting. Jesse Tyler Ferguson. It's going to be a kind of a great lineup of authors, and these are just the PRH authors. So please do sign up if you haven't. And then if we go to the next slide, we also will have some of our own programming, including our Cocktails and Conversations event that we usually host live at ALA Midwinter. But we still have the lovely Donna Seaman, who will be introducing our authors, and we're going to have a virtual author program that we will make available on demand. Even if you are not attending ALA Midwinter, you'll be able to see this. So we'll be sure to share this afterwards. Some great authors participating.
As Jen Rubin said earlier, you can have Ethan Hawke right in your own living room.
Speaking of your own living room, I took a picture of what my computer looks like, and I'll share it because there's just confetti everywhere. I'll tweet it out.
Love it.
You're brave.
So we also have some wonderful virtual author events coming up. As you know, this was another highlight for all of us, I think, last year, and it continues. So please go to prh.com/booksconnectusllive and find all of these fabulous events coming up this week, plus many more. You can always check out this link at any time and see what's new. So lots of amazing authors that can also be in your living room.
Yes. I have to clean.
I know. I was editing my photo so that my desk looks a little neater.
Love it. Okay, so on to the books. First up, we have a collection of fiction titles that we all felt kind of fell under the family secrets subject. First up is Secrets of Happiness by Joan Cyber. She's the author of Improvement, which was the winner of the National Book Critics Circle Award and the Penn Faulkner Award. When a man discovers his father in New York has long had another secret family, a wife and 2 kids, the interlocking fates of both families lead to surprise loyalties, love triangles, and a reservoir of inner strength. Evoking a generous and humane spirit and a story that ranges over 3 continents, Secrets of Happiness elucidates the way people marshal the resources at hand to forge their own forms of joy. With Malibu Rising, the New York Times best-selling author of Daisy Jones and the Six, I know that's a house favorite, takes readers right to the heart of unforgettable 1980s Malibu in a sun-drenched, wave-washed atmosphere you won't want to leave. It's August 1983, the day of Nina Riva's annual end-of-summer party, and anticipation is at a fever pitch. Everyone wants to be around the famous Rivas. Nina, the talented surfer and supermodel, brothers Jay and Hud, one a championship surfer, the other a renowned photographer, and their adored baby sister, Kit. Together, the siblings are a source of fascination in Malibu and the world over, especially as the offspring of the legendary singer Mick Riva. The only person not looking forward to the party of the year is Nina herself, who never wanted to be the center of attention, and who had also just been very publicly abandoned by her pro-tennis player husband. Oh, and maybe Hud, because it's long past time for him to confess something to the brother from whom he's been inseparable since birth. And Kit has a couple secrets of her own, including a guest she invited without consulting anyone. By midnight, the party will be completely out of control. By morning, the Riva mansion will have gone up in flames. But before the first spark, in the early hours before dawn, the alcohol will flow, the music will play, and the loves and secrets that shape this family's generations will come rising to the surface. I mean, what sounds better than that? Lots of family secrets. And next up, in Brood, we have a new literary voice, which is perfect for readers of Jenny Offal and Rachel Cusk, which depicts one woman's struggle to keep her 4 chickens alive over the course of a brutal Minnesota winter while grieving a recent miscarriage. Our nameless narrator stubbornly tries to keep her small brood of chickens alive and safe, woefully unprepared for the task. She battles the relentless predators, the severe weather, and unforeseen bad luck, all the while grieving the miscarriage and coming to terms with infertility and the accompanying uncertainty that her future holds. This is intimate and startlingly original. This slender novel is packed with sorrow and joy. It's a stunning meditation on longing, grief, and relentless hope. Next, spanning 2 continents, 2 coasts, and 4 epochs, Gold Diggers expertly balances social satire and magical realism in a classic Stryver story that skewers the modern minority narrative, asking what a community must do to achieve the American dream. In razor-sharp and deeply funny prose, Sathian perfectly captures what it is to grow up as a member of a family, of a diaspora, and of the American meritocracy. This blockbuster novel both entertains and levels a critique of what Americans of color must do to make their way. Celeste Ng of Little Fires Everywhere says, in a perfect alchemical blend of familiar and unfamiliar, Gold Diggers takes a wincingly hilarious coming-of-age story, laces it with magical realism and a trace of satire, and creates a world that's both achingly familiar and marvelously inventive. Written with such assurance, it's hard to believe that this is a debut, this dizzyingly original, fiercely funny, deeply wise novel about the seductive powers and dangers of borrowed ambition. And then next up is Sweet Taste of Muscadines. Lila Bruce Breedlove never quite felt at home in Wesleyan, Georgia, especially after her father's untimely demise when she was a child. Both Lila and her brother Henry fled north after high school, establishing fulfilling lives of their own. In contrast, their younger sister Abigail opted to remain behind to dote on their domineering, larger-than-life mother Geneva. Yet despite their independence, Lila and Henry know deep down they've never quite reckoned with their upbringing. When their elderly mother dies suddenly and suspiciously in the muscadine arbor behind the family estate, Lila and Henry return to the town that essentially raised them, but they uncover more about Geneva's death. Shocking truths are revealed that overturn the family's history as they know it, sending the pair on an extraordinary journey to chase a truth that will dramatically alter the course of their lives. The Sweet Taste of Muscadines reminds us all that true love never dies. This debut novel is perfect for readers of Karen White and Dorothea Benton Frank. And then, finally, in misty coastal Washington state, Isaac lives alone with his dog, grieving the recent death of his teenage son, Daniel. Next door, Lori, a working single mother, struggles with a heinous act committed by her own teenage son. Separated by only a silvery stretch of trees, the two parents are emotionally stranded, isolated by their great losses, until an unfamiliar 16-year-old girl shows up, bridges the gap, and changes everything. With a propulsive mystery at its core, What Comes After offers an unforgettable story of loss and anger, but also of kindness and hope, courage and forgiveness. It is a deeply moving account of strangers and friends, not only helping each other forward after tragedy, but inspiring a new kind of family. This book is perfect for readers who love Kent Haruf.
And just to add, before we move on, I don't have audiobook news for any of these yet because they're far out. They're all still family secrets, so to speak. But I did want to remind everyone, as Jen mentioned, Daisy Jones and the Six is such a beloved book, and the audiobook, if you haven't listened to it yet or recommended it to patrons, it's just so special. It's celeb-studded. It's perfect for audio because it's literally an oral history of a rock band from the 70s. And so it reads like a play, like a radio play, like dialogue. And you have Benjamin Bratt, Jennifer Beals, Judy Greer, Pablo Schreiber, and many more. And you don't have to take my word for it. I'm going to do my best reading Rainbow. Booklist said in a Start audio review that the behind the music style interviews that make up this tribute to a fictitious band lend themselves perfectly to a full cast recording, and that even readers who grabbed a print copy of this book when it was picked for Reese Witherspoon's book club will want to listen to this innovative interpretation. So just a reminder to make sure that's in your collection.
Great point.
Yes, and I read it and listened to it, and it was by far one of my favorite audiobooks ever. It's so captivating. I loved it. All right, so now on to our Shining Stars slide. And, you know, it's just so nice to be back talking about books. This is our favorite thing to do. Jen Ribbons is our celeb. We have a whole bunch of different books for you on this slide, and we're really excited about some of the star-studded title names that are going to be behind some of our big books this year. Starting with the Sharon Stone memoir, The Beauty of Living Twice. This is for readers of intimate, revealing celebrity memoirs like the ones that came to you from Sally Field and Demi Moore. This is where Sharon Stone tells her own story of her journey of healing, love, and purpose. At the height of her career, she was one of the most renowned actresses in the world until a massive stroke cost her not only her health, but her livelihood, her family, her fortune, and her global fame. In The Beauty of Living Twice, Sharon Stone chronicles her efforts to rebuild her life and writes about her slow road back to wholeness and health. In a business that doesn't accept failure, in a world where too many voices are silenced, Stone found the power to return, the courage to speak up, and the will to make a difference in the lives of women and children around the globe. Over the course of these intimate pages, as candid as personal conversations, Stone talks about her pivotal roles, her life-changing friendships, her worst disappointments, and her greatest accomplishments. The Beauty of Living Twice is a book for the wounded and a book for the survivors. It's a celebration of women's strength and resilience, a reckoning and a call to activism. It is proof that it's never too late to raise your voice and to speak out. She took inspiration from her idol, Joan Didion, and her friend, Patti Smith, when she put pen to paper and told her own story as only she could. She had no co-author or ghostwriter, and every word of this book is hers. So we are really honored to bring this story to you. Next up is Unfinished, a memoir from Priyanka Chopra Jonas. From her dual-continent 20-year career as an actor and producer to her work as a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador, from losing her father to cancer to marrying the very little-known Nick Jonas, Chopra's story will inspire readers around the world to gather their courage, embrace their ambitions, and commit to the hard work of following their dreams. Priyanka has a huge social media presence, 55 million plus Instagram followers, and this is her story. Wow. I know, it's crazy. It's a thoughtful and revealing memoir, and readers will accompany one of the world's most recognizable women on her journey to self-discovery. She has a very remarkable story rooted in two different worlds. Unfinished offers insights into Priyanka's childhood in India, her formative years, teenage years in the United States, and her return to India, where against all odds, as a newcomer to the pageant world, she won the national and international beauty competitions that launched her global acting career. Whether reflecting on her nomadic early years or the challenges she faced as she doggedly pursued her calling, Priyanka shares her challenges, her triumphs, her warmth, and honesty. The result is a book that is philosophical, sassy, inspiring, bold, and rebellious, just like the author herself. So this is exciting for all of her many fans out there. The next story is Mike Nichols, A Life by Mark Harris. This is a magnificent biography of one of the most protean creative forces in American entertainment history. It's a life of dazzling highs and really steep plunges, some of the worst largely unknown until now. So this book has a lot of tell-all in it. It's by the acclaimed author of Pictures at a Revolution and Five Came Back. Mike Nichols burst onto the scene as a wonderkind while still in his 20s. He was half of a hit improv duo with Elaine May that was the talk of the country. Next, he directed 4 consecutive hit plays, won back-to-back Tonys, ushered in a new era of Hollywood movie making with Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and followed it with The Graduate, which won him an Oscar and became the 3rd highest grossing movie ever. And this was, at 35 years old. So he lived in a 3-story Central Park penthouse apartment, drove a Rolls Royce, collected Arabian horses, and counted Jacqueline Kennedy, Elizabeth Taylor, Leonard Bernstein, and many more as friends. But his life did not start that way. So this is a really interesting story because when he arrived, the part about where he grew up is even more astonishing. He was born Igor Pachowski to a Jewish couple in Berlin in 1931, and he and his brother were sent to America on a ship in 1939. He was a young immigrant boy who caught very few breaks. He was bullied and ostracized, had an allergic reaction that rendered him permanently hairless. His father died when he was 12, leaving his mother alone and overwhelmed. And this story is the story of the gulf between these two sets of facts that explains a great deal about his life and the transformation of lonely outsider to the center of more than one cultural universe. It's a tell-all. It has who's who of everybody in this book. Mark Harris gives an intimate and even-handed account of success and failure alike. The portrait is not always flattering, but its ultimate impact is to present the full story of one of the most richly interesting, complicated, and consequential figures the world of theater and motion pictures has ever seen. We're really looking forward to this one.
Wow. Now I was already looking forward to it, but now I'm even more excited hearing all of that.
It's just so fascinating that
it's incredible.
One person could have such a life. Oh my gosh.
I know.
The next book is Broken Horses, a memoir by Brandi Carlile, which I have to admit immediately makes me want to break out into karaoke, but I will.
Do it. Do it.
Maybe next month. Maybe next month. One of these months we really should just do a karaoke buzz. We should have to do a karaoke buzz. Yes.
You guys heard it. This is being recorded, so.
We've made our official promise. No, I'm just kidding. No. But this is for the readers of memoirs like Elton John and Patti Smith, and this is for fans of Brandi's music and her 2.75 million monthly listeners on Spotify. So she has a huge following. And this is her story about being born into a musically gifted, impoverished family on the outskirts of Seattle and growing up in a constant state of change, moving from house to house, trailer to trailer, 14 times in as many years. So she was imperfect in every way, her dysfunctional childhood, and it was beautiful as it was strange, and as nurturing as it was difficult. At the age of 5, Brandi contracted bacterial meningitis, which almost took her life, leaving a mark on her formative years and altering her journey into young adulthood. She was an openly gay teenager, and she grappled with the tension between her sexuality and her faith. When her pastor publicly refused to baptize her on the day of the ceremony, shockingly, her small town rallied around Brandi in support and set her on a path to salvation, where the rest of the misfits and rejects found it. It's twisted, it's joyful, weird, wonderful music about her story and how her life brought her to who she became, which, really is like the best kind of story. It's evocative and piercingly honest. It's at once an examination of faith through the eyes of a person rejected by the church's basic tenets, and a meditation on the moments and lyrics that have shaped the life of a creative mind, a brilliant artist, and a genuine empath on a mission to give back. So we're really excited to hear more from Brandi, her own words about her life. A Bright Ray of Darkness. Here's our Ethan Hawke moment. We do all kind of collectively love. This is for fans of Boyhood and the Before Edge Sunset trilogy, and for fans of Postcards on the Edge. And this is a novel from Ethan Hawke, and it's his first novel in nearly 20 years. And he's an acclaimed writer, author, director, and it's a book about art and love, fame and heartbreak, and it's a blistering story of a young man making his Broadway debut just as his marriage is about to implode. It sounds really fun. I love these kinds of books that get a
to read about.
I do. I love getting.
And you can't help but wonder if there's, any truisms behind the fiction, right?
Yes, exactly. It's a bracing meditation of fame and celebrity and the redemptive healing power of art. A portrait of the ravages of disappointment and divorce, a poignant consideration of the rights of fatherhood and manhood, a novel soaked in rage and sex, longing and despair, and a passionate love letter to the world of theater. So we are really looking forward to a bright ray of darkness, and it showcases Ethan Hawke's gifts as a novelist as never before. And I'd love to make a shout out to Ethan Hawke's book, Rules of a Knight, if you've not read that. That is just such a fun book filled with such poignant lessons from his life, and I love that one. So we are really looking forward to this book. We're looking forward to seeing him at Midwinter. And last up, is about the Queen. Some of you may have heard of her. I know that I will say one of my last meetings. Jen, you are tired.
I'm trying a little too hard. I'll
I think you're doing a great job. One of my last meetings of 2020 was a very official meeting that we put on the calendar to discuss the last season of The Crown. So I
thought you were going to say it was a meeting with the Queen. I was like, wait a minute.
I wish we had.
I was not invited.
We talked about the last season of The Crown, which is definitely the best one so far, I thought. So for people that cannot get enough of fanfare about the Queen, this is a beautiful, beautiful pictorial book from Town and Country. And there's more than 300 extraordinary photographs along with insightful commentary by the royal journalist Victoria Murphy. It showcases the significant, historic, and intimate moments throughout the Queen's life, first as a young princess and then as the longest reigning British monarch. It covers her years of war in the service, her marriage to Prince Philip, her coronation, just about everything. So we're super excited.
Coronation.
I know, little old things, royal weddings, that kind of thing. So this is going to be a really beautiful book, and we know that she is truly a queen for all ages, and this is going to be a popular one for fans and readers, and perfect for your libraries.
And then to answer the burning question, I'm sure all audiobook listeners and librarians who know they're going to have questions from their patrons about the audio editions. Yes, most of these will be read by the author, which is going to just add an even more intimate layer to these incredible books and memoirs. So Sharon Stone will be reading her audiobook. Priyanka Chopra Jonas will be reading her audiobook. Brandi Carlile will be reading her audiobook, and Ethan Hawke will be reading his audiobook. And to point out about Ethan Hawke, he also has read other people's audiobooks, and he just got this incredible review from Audiophile, an Earphones Award, in fact, for his narration of Big Sur by Jack Kerouac. So, they said Ethan Hawke does not just give a stellar performance, he delivers a living embodiment of Kerouac's work, sustaining a quality that's consistently startling. So I think you can't go wrong with him reading anything. We're such big fans in my house of that trilogy, the Before and After Sunrise, Sunset trilogy. But he's really wonderful and so dedicated as a writer and an actor. And he also gave a fantastic interview on This Is the Author, which will come out later in our podcast, closer to his publication date, where he talks about just what Jen mentioned, whether, he knows people wonder, whether there's elements of truth in what he writes, and it's a fun listen into his writing process and narration process a little bit. So listen up for that. Cool. Yeah. And then, I should add, Mike Nichols will be read by the wonderful George Newbern, who's a wonderful narrator, and also from Father of the Bride movies, if anybody is a fan of those, like me.
Yeah. Who isn't?
And Scandal.
Right, yeah.
Okay, next up, take the road less traveled. First up, Bill Gates has spent a decade investigating the causes and effects of climate change. With the help of experts in the fields of physics, chemistry, biology, engineering, political science, and finance, he has focused on what must be done in order to stop the planet's slide to certain environmental disaster. In How to Avoid a Climate Disaster, he not only explains why we need to work toward net zero emissions of greenhouse gases, but he also details what we need to do to achieve this profoundly important goal. Then next up is Finding the Mother Tree. Suzanne Simard is a pioneer on the frontier of plant communication and intelligence. She's been compared to Rachel Carson, hailed as a scientist who conveys complex technical ideas in a way that is dazzling and profound. Her work has influenced filmmakers. Think The Tree of Souls in James Cameron's Avatar, and her TED Talks have been viewed by more than 10 million people worldwide. And now in Finding the Mother Tree, Simard brings us into her world, the intimate world of trees, in which she brilliantly illuminates the fascinating and vital truths that trees are not simply the source of timber or pulp, but are a complex, interdependent circle of life, that forests are social, cooperative creatures connected through underground networks by which trees communicate their vitality and vulnerabilities with communal lives not that different from our own. This book is perfect for readers of books like Lab Girl and Wilds. In Under a White Sky, Elizabeth Kolbert, the Pulitzer Prize-winning author of The Sixth Extinction, takes a hard look at the new world we're creating. Along the way, she meets biologists who are trying to preserve the world's rarest fish, which lives in a single tiny pool in the middle of the Mojave, engineers who are turning carbon emissions to stone in Iceland, Australian researchers who are trying to develop a super coral that can survive on a hotter globe, and physicists who are contemplating shooting tiny diamonds into the stratosphere to cool the Earth. One way to look at human civilization, says the author, is as a 10,000-year exercise in defying nature. In The Sixth Extinction, she explored the ways in which our capacity for destruction has reshaped the natural world. Now she examines how the very sorts of interventions that have imperiled our planet are increasingly seen as the only hope for its salvation. By turns inspiring, terrifying, and darkly comic, Under a White Sky is an utterly original examination of the challenges we face. And then next up, the cover on this. I mean...
No, I just want to give that bear a hug. That would probably kill me.
Yes, indeed. 6 days after giving birth, a polar bear named Aurora got up and walked away from her den at the Columbus Zoo, leaving her tiny, squealing cub to fend for herself. Hours later, Aurora still hadn't returned. The cub was furless and blind, and with her temperature dropping dangerously, the zookeepers entrusted with her care felt they had no choice. They would have to raise one of the most dangerous predators in the world by hand. Over the next few weeks, a group of veterinarians and zookeepers worked around the clock to save the cub, whom they called Nora. Sweeping and tender, the loneliest polar bear explores the fraught relationship humans have with the natural world, the sinister causes of the environmental mess we find ourselves in, and how the fate of polar bears is not theirs alone. Dr. Jane Goodall calls this story a moving story of abandonment, love, and survival against all odds. And then Life's Edge. We all assume we know what life is, but the more scientists learn about the living world, from protocells to brains, from zygotes to pandemic viruses, the harder they find it to locate life's edge. This book is an utterly fascinating investigation that no one but one of the most celebrated science writers of our generation could craft. Zimmer journeys through the strange experiments that have attempted to recreate life. Literally hundreds of definitions of what that should look like now exist, but none has emerged as an obvious winner. Lists of what living things have in common do not add up to a theory of life. It's never clear why some items on the list are essential and others are not. Whether he's handling pythons in Alabama or searching for hibernating bats in the Adirondacks, Zimmer revels in astounding examples of life at its most bizarre. He tries his own hand at evolving life in a test tube with unnerving results. Zimmer leads us all the way into the labs and minds of researchers working on engineering life from the ground up. A fascinating read. And then finally, with climate change at the forefront of current discussions, Words of Change Climate offers a curated collection of thought-provoking quotes and passages from the writings and speeches of activists in the environmental community with a focus on diverse and previously unheard voices. Compiled by a social scientist and researcher, Tina Limpert, this collection of stirring words is intended to enlighten, to prompt change, to provide encouragement, and to deepen readers' conviction. Celebrating activism, focusing on solutions, and avoiding apathy and pessimism, this book is call to action. The back matter includes a brief bio of each person quoted to provide context for their life and work.
And some exciting news to tack on for audio. I hope Will Wheaton fans are listening. That includes you, Erica, on our team. But he will be narrating, Will Wheaton will be narrating How to Avoid a Climate Disaster by Bill Gates. So Bill Gates will read his own introduction, and then Will Wheaton will read the audiobook. So that's pretty exciting. And then I just have to say that I'm really enjoying the sentiments from all the librarians for the polar bear. There's lots of cheers.
You're making people cry, Jen.
But that audiobook will be read by Karen Murray, and then I hope to have other audiobook news soon.
I know that face is something. Oh.
Even though he would eat you, but still.
That's true. So now moving on to literary fiction. We have a great little list here for you, perfect for readers of some of the books that people have loved by these authors before. Some authors you might want to pick up, perfect for book clubs, and we've just got a little mix here for you. And the first one we're going to start with is Early Morning Riser. This one actually I think is a great way to start. I love the plot of this one, and I actually cannot wait to read this one. It's for fans of Ann Tyler, Lori Moore, Ann Patchett, Curtis Sittenfeld. So you'll see that it's definitely a boundlessly joyful novel of love, disaster, and unconventional family, which sounds just about perfect. And it's about Jane, who falls in love with Duncan easily. He is charming, good-natured, and handsome, but unfortunately he has also slept with nearly every woman in Boyne City, Michigan. Jane sees Duncan's old girlfriends everywhere, at restaurants, at the grocery store, even 3 towns away. While Jane may be able to come to terms with dating the world's most prolific seducer of women, she wishes she did not have to share him quite so widely. His ex-wife Aggie, a woman with shiny hair and pale milkmaid skin, still has Duncan mow her lawn. His coworker Jimmy comes and goes from Duncan's apartment at the most inopportune times. Sometimes Jane wonders if a relationship can work with 3 people in it, never mind 4. 5 if you count Aggie's eccentric husband Gary, not to mention all of the other residents of Boyne City who freely share with Jane their opinions of her choices. But any notion Jane had of love and marriage changes with one terrible car crash. Soon Jane's life is permanently intertwined with Duncan's, Aggie's, and Jimmy's. And Jane knows that she will never have Duncan to herself. But could it be possible that a deeper kind of happiness is right in front of Jane's eyes? A novel that is alternately bittersweet and laugh-out-loud funny. Early Morning Riser is her most astonishingly wonderful work to date, and we're very excited about this one. And I love the cover, too. I saw a couple of comments about the cover. I love it.
I'm a reluctant Early Morning Riser, but I really do like the cover.
Me too.
It sounds so good.
How Beautiful We Were. This is another one. This is for readers of Margaret Atwood, Ya Jesse, Colson Whitehead, and it's for readers about contemporary socioeconomic issues such as fracking, environmentalism, and corporate imperialism. 250,000 meters of, am I saying this right? Mbolo Umbe, right?
Mbue.
Mbolo
Mbue.
Mbue, thank you. I didn't want to say it wrong, but this is for the readers of the first novel, Behold the Dreamers. And it was a New York Times bestselling author. And this is a sweeping, wrenching story about the collision of a small African village and an American oil company. We should have known the end was near. That is how it begins. And it's a powerful second novel set in the fictional African village of Kasawa. It tells of a people living in fear amid environmental degradation wrought by an American oil company. Pipeline spills have rendered farmland infertile. Children are dying from toxic drinking water. Promises of cleanup and financial reparations to the villagers are made and ignored. The country's government, led by a brazen dictator, exists to serve its own interest. Left with few choices, the people of Kasawa decide to fight back. Their struggle will last for decades and come at a steep price. It's told from the perspective of a generation of children and the family of a girl named Sula, who grows up to become a revolutionary. How Beautiful We Are is a masterful exploration of what happens when the reckless drive for profit, coupled with the ghost of colonialism, comes up against one's community's determination to hold on to its ancestral land and a young woman's willingness to sacrifice everything for the sake of her people's freedom. The next book is Whereabouts from Jhumpa Lahiri. It's a marvelous new novel from the Pulitzer Prize-winning author of The Lowland, and it's nearly her first in a decade, which I was surprised to hear because we've had some stories from her recently. Exuberance and dread, attachment and estrangement. In this novel, Jhumpa Lahiri stretches her themes to the limit. The woman at the center wavers between status and movement, between the need to belong and the refusal to form lasting ties. The city she calls home, an engaging backdrop to her days, acts as a confidant. The sidewalks around her house, parks, bridges, piazzas, streets, stores, coffee bars. We follow her to the pool she frequents and to the train station that sometimes leads her to her mother, mired in a desperate solitude after her father's ultimate untimely death. In addition to colleagues at work where she never quite feels at ease, she has girlfriends, guy friends, and him, a shadow who both consoles and unsettles her. But in the arc of a year, as one season gives way to the next, transformation awaits. One day at the sea, both overwhelmed and replenished by the sun's vital heat, her perspective will change. This is Jhumpa Lahiri's first novel written in Italian. It brims with the impulses to cross barriers. By grafting herself onto a new literary language, Lahiri has pushed herself even farther from the shore. Very exciting. Body of Stars is for readers of speculative feminist fiction like The Handmaid's Tale and The Power. It's for people that like books that use fantastical to explore feminist issues like those of Carmen Maria Machado, as well as unique coming-of-age stories that explore sibling bonds like Chloe Benjamin's The Immortalist. This is a unique and timely exploration of girlhood, womanhood, and toxic masculinity. It is an inventive and urgent read about what happens when women are objectified and stripped of choice, and what happens when they fight back. Celeste Morgan has eagerly awaited her passage to adulthood. Like every girl, she was born with a set of childhood markings, the freckles, the moles, and birthmarks of her body that will foretell her future, and that of those around her. And with puberty will come a new set of predictions that will solidify her fate. The possibilities are tantalizing enough to outweigh the worry that the future she dreams of won't be the one she's fated to have, and the fear of her changeling period, the time when women are nearly irresistible to men, and the risk of abduction is rife. Celeste's brother Miles is equally anticipating her transition to adulthood. He's a skilled interpreter of the future, a field that typically excludes men, and Miles considers Celeste his practice ground, and the only clue to what his own future will bring. But when Celeste changes, she learns a devastating secret about Miles' fate, a secret that can destroy her family, a secret she will do anything to keep. Yet Celeste isn't the only one keeping secrets. And with the lives of her brother and sister collide, it leads to a tragedy that will prove to change Celeste's fate and set her on a path to fight against misogyny of fortune-telling and the urge to create a future that is truly her own. This is going to be perfect for book clubs. There's so much to talk about in here. And it's going to have that legion of fans, I think, like The Handmaid's Tale had. Brother, Sister, Mother, Explorer is another novel, which has a star review from Booklist already and a great blurb from Tommy Orange, the author of There, that says, "It is so full of voice, it is utterly bright and original." And look at that beautiful cover too. Readers who flock to literary debuts like There and A Burning, readers of modern fables, fans of timeless literary fiction are going to be really drawn to this book. It's curious and dazzling, and it's set in a touristy town of Ciudad de Hermanas, in the aftermath of their mother's passing. Two siblings spend a final weekend together in their childhood home. Seeing her brother Rafa careening toward a place of no return, Rufina devises a bet. If they can make enough money performing for privileged tourists in the plaza over the course of a weekend to afford a plane ticket out of there, Rafa must commit to living. If not, Rufina will make her peace with Rafa's own plan for the future, however terrifying it might be. As the siblings reckon with generational and ancestral trauma set against the indignities of present-day prejudice and other strange hauntings begin to stalk these pages, their mother's ghost kicks her heels against the wall. Rufina's vanished child creeps into her arms at night, and above all, watching over the siblings, a genderless, flea-bitten angel remains hell-bent on saving what can be saved. This is a Rumpus most anticipated book of the year and a beautiful story. And then The 9 Lives of Rose Napolitano is a novel from Donna Freitas for readers of Celeste Ng, Ann Patchett, Mary Beth Keane, Courtney Sullivan, and other commercial authors that we all love and love to talk about the plots in their books. And this is a deeply moving novel about a woman who thought she never wanted to be a mother and the many ways that life can surprise us. Every woman, as you all probably know, in every woman's life there are many stories. Rose is fighting with her husband Luke about prenatal vitamins. She promised she'd take them but didn't. He promised before they got married that he'd never want children, but now he does. Their marriage has come to rest on this one question. Can Rose find it in herself to become a mother? Rose is a successful professor and academic. She never wanted to have a child. The fight ends, and so does their marriage. But then Rose has a fight with Luke about vitamins again. This time the fight goes slightly differently, and so does Rose's future, as she grapples with whether she can indeed give up the one thing she knew about herself. Can she reimagine her life in a completely new way? That reimagining plays out again and again in each of Rose's 9 lives, just as it does for each of us as we grow into adulthood. We are the consequences of our biggest choices. How would life change if we let go of our preconceived ideas of ourselves and become someone completely new? Rose Napolitano's experience of choosing and then choosing again shows us in utterly compelling ways what life means, what it means to reinvent your life, and what it means to become somebody that you did not think you were. It's a stunning novel of loss, betrayal, divorce, a woman's career and her future, and obviously, like, perfect for book clubs. I mean, you could talk about this one forever.
I was just going to add that on. I mean, I can only imagine the way book clubs will be, like, going on and on talking about all the possibilities.
I know.
And I just have to add on for how beautiful we were. This audiobook is not to be missed when it comes out. It's a full cast recording, so you really get to hear each of the main characters from the village speak the beautiful words from Mbolo and Bue. It includes Prentice Oniemi, who read Behold the Dreamers, and I love hearing stories like this. As a narrator, he formed a special relationship with the author. They got to meet in person and talk about her book, and she requested that he be part of this production as well. And then the rest of the cast features Janina Edwards, Dion Graham, J.D. Jackson, Allison Johnson, and Lisa Renee Pitts. So quite an extraordinary cast will bring this world to life. And I'm really excited.
Behold the Dreamers audiobook too was beautiful.
Yeah, Prentice is a fantastic narrator. And then, you talking about Jhumpa Lahiri, I just had to add on, I remember having the pleasure of meeting her in the audiobook studio when she wrote her first nonfiction book, In Other Words, which was about learning Italian, and she was in the studio with her translator. And in the wrap-up, we'll send around, we have videos of her in the studio recording, because she recorded In Other Words in Italian and in English, and it was so beautiful and fascinating, and she was still admitting to like learning that language, and it's incredible that she's now written a novel in Italian that's been translated to English. It's really extraordinary. So we'll share those videos with you because it was making me think back to that. I think it was in 2016, but it was a really extraordinary, memorable studio experience for me. So
I'm sure.
Very cool.
Oh, sorry.
And then to bring it home, new year, new audiobooks.
The confetti never ends.
I will be cleaning this up all day. At least I didn't throw glitter. That would have been a really tragic error. So in terms of shining stars, there were so many to choose from, but I wanted to add some from the children's list, which are really exciting. If anyone was listening to NPR yesterday, you might have heard Lil Nas X interviewed and talked specifically about how his new audience really is children. Like, he surprisingly has found this incredible space of love and support from kids who love his music and love him. And he's been on Sesame Street, which I've seen. And so he has this amazing book called C is for Country coming out, and he has read the audiobook. And so parents who love his single Old Town Road and his albums will love to listen to him read this book. Do you know he has the longest running #1 song in history? Isn't that interesting?
Really?
Yeah. So, so this is narrated by him, and it's a really joyous journey through the alphabet from sun up to sundown. And then for fans, I love the show Younger, I have to say, and Hilary Duff has written a beautiful children's book coming out soon called My Little Brave Girl. So this is going to also be, it's a beautiful and inspiring picture book, and I think will be wonderful to play for kids. It's got a really poetic text and encourages girls to reach higher, dream bigger, and approach the world with their hearts wide open. And when it comes to family secrets, so I have a couple exciting ones here, one from our listening library list and one from our adult list. So American Batia is going to be read by Sunila Nankani, and this is for fans of writers like Jandy Nelson. And listeners will identify with this story. It's about a young artist grappling with her first love. I hear lots of background noise. I don't know if anyone else hears that, but just in case, no, just me. Sorry. But it's about someone grappling with her first love, family boundaries, and the complications of a cross-cultural relationship. So this young girl, Ronnie, she's never lied to her parents until she meets Oliver, and the qualities that draw her in, his tattoos, his charisma, his passion for art, make him her mother's worst nightmare. So they begin dating in secret, but then Oliver's troubled home life unravels, and he starts to ask more of Ronnie than she knows how to give, and she's desperately trying to fit into his world and her world, no matter how high the cost. So School Library Journal has already called this out as a wonderful story. They say it's a traditional Indian American girl meets a troubled white boy in a forbidden romance novel. The story is fast-paced, and readers and listeners, I'm adding that part in, will initially root for this young love. But when Oliver starts stereotyping Ronnie, they will side with her as she pushes back. The author describes how harmful microaggressions can be, and that being brown in modern-day America can be dangerous at times. So I'm really looking forward to this fantastic audiobook and novel. And then Quiet in Her Bones by Nalini Singh comes out this February. And the author is so thrilled that the narrator is from New Zealand and is of Indian descent. So that was really important to the author. And this is a gripping thriller set in New Zealand by the New York Times bestselling author. And she takes you into the twisted world of an exclusive cul-de-sac located on the edge of a sprawling forest. And if this doesn't capture your attention, what will? Here it goes. My mother vanished 10 years ago. So did $250,000 in cash. Thief, bitch, criminal. Now she's back, her bones clothed in scarlet silk. So it's about a socialite who disappears without a trace. Everyone wrote it off as another trophy wife tired of her wealthy husband, but now her bones have turned up. So get ready for that thriller. Audiophile called her previous audiobook, A Madness of Sunshine, a compelling multi-layered listen. So I expect this will be no different, but with a fabulous new narrator. And then when it comes to the road less traveled, we focused on nature here in the audiobook edition. So I wanted to point out one of the books from the Pocket Change Collective that's available on audio. So Pocket Change Collective is a series of small books with big ideas from today's leading activists and artists. And in this installment, taking on the plastics crisis, youth activist Hannah Testa, who's the founder of Hannah for Change, chronicles both her personal and political mission to save the Earth's oceans by limiting single-use plastic products. Booklist said in a starred review that taking on the plastics crisis delivers straightforward advice for getting involved in the global movement to eliminate single-use plastics. And I have to say, the audiobooks are super special because I think young people hearing directly from these young, incredible and inspiring activists is just such a wonderful way to really immerse yourself in what they have to say and to hear it in their own voice. And the passion that these impressive young people have is just really special. So don't miss the audio series, Pocket Change Collective, and especially this one. And then I'm really excited about this picture book that's coming to audio. In March, it's called Fatima's Great Outdoors, and it's about an immigrant family who embarks on their first camping trip in the Midwest. It's a lively picture book and sure to be a lively audiobook by Ambreen Tariq, who's an outdoors activist, and she's the founder of At Brown People Camping. So definitely follow her on social media and learn more about this book coming up. And then finally, literary fiction. I know you all know about Because of Winn-Dixie, but you may not know that it's the 20th anniversary of this incredible Newbery Honor book. And so in honor of that, Kate DiCamillo has updated her book slightly. This reissue incorporates subtle but profound text changes that Kate DiCamillo further discusses in her author's note. And this includes a new introduction that's written and read on audio by Ann Patchett. So Jenna Lamia, who's a fabulous narrator who has read many beautiful listening library audiobooks, steps behind the mic for this one, and Kate DiCamillo reads her author's note explaining why she's updated the text, and Ann Patchett reads her own introduction. So this is a can't be missed 20th anniversary celebration of one of the most beloved stories of our time, I think, and we're so excited to be bringing Because of Winn-Dixie back to audio. We also had it before read by Cherry Jones, which is still available now, and then this one comes out on February 9th. So that'll be great to listen up for. And then finally, this is a really fascinating, great book club book. My Friend Natalia by Laura Lindstedt. She's one of Finland's most dynamic novelists, and she burst onto the American literary scene with My Friend Natalia. It's an erotic story of an ambitious therapist sessions with an unforgettable patient, which I think is great book club fodder. It's going to be really interesting. It's a tale of one woman's potent affliction, and it's narrated by an unnamed, ungendered therapist who leaps at the chance to employ their most experimental methods. And it offers a gripping examination of the power dynamics that are always present, but rarely ever spoken about in therapy. So I'm very curious to see who is cast to read the audiobook because it is an unnamed, ungendered therapist. So I think it'll be really interesting to follow along with this. And I'll update you as soon as I have news. But it sounds like such a fascinating book, and I'm really excited to listen to it. And that, my friends, is almost the end. We have one question for you.
There's the confetti.
As promised, we want to hear from you. What book are you most excited to read in 2021? So log on to Twitter, tell us at PRH Morning Buzz or hashtag PRH Morning Buzz. And thanks so much for tuning in. This was so great to be back, and we're so thrilled that you've joined us.
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully we got you excited about some upcoming books. I know that I just put some on my list, so. Thank you.
And we'll see you again soon. We'll just go to the last slide to tell you that February 3rd we'll be back again. So we will
mark
see
your
you
calendars.
Then. That's right.
Yeah.
Mark your calendars.
As a reminder, you'll get, we've gotten a lot of questions, but just a reminder, you will get all of this information in the wrap-up, all of the titles and all the links to everything. So that should be coming out. You'll get that by tomorrow.
Thanks to everyone for watching. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year.